We survey these thousands of Americans and Canadians every year, and we track what we call the social values. A social value is a principle that drives you at the deepest level. The reason why you are in this room, the reason why you do what you do for a living, is that you have a value called community service, or you have a value called personal growth, or you have a value called building deep and enduring relationships with others, or you have a value called leaving a legacy for others. All of these are the values that are shared by the people in this room. And what I do and what my company does is we study what are the values of those people who are thriving in these times and helping other people do the same. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. I also, right up front, do not want you to agree with me. I just don't want you to disagree with me. So don't agree, don't disagree, just be open between now and 11:45. So suspend your judgment about anything I say over the next hour. Now look, I am not going to say anything that will offend you, but I will say some things that you might not agree with. But my request is, not just for today, but for the rest of your lives, is when you're in a meeting and somebody says something that you immediately disagree with, just step back and suspend your judgment. Because how many times have you been in a meeting with somebody and decided that they were wrong? Has that ever happened? What happens if you decide somebody's wrong? You stop listening, they stop listening, the communication breaks down, not just for that meeting, but for every other meeting. Because people remember that you are the guy who decided they were wrong. And, you know, elephants have got nothing on human beings. Human beings never forget. So my challenge to all of you here today is not to decide somebody's wrong until you've thought about it, until you've allowed your mind to come at it from a range of different angles. Because how many times have you decided somebody was wrong and then you discovered that was not the case? Has that ever happened? In fact, have you ever had an argument or a heated debate with your spouse, decided she or he was wrong, and then you were proved right? How did that work for you? Listen, you can be right or you can be happy. So, in meetings, if you open, other people are going to share a lot more with you. And by the way, you don't have to say a single word for people to know what you're thinking. 90% of all communication is nonverbal. So if you're sitting there and in your mind you are open, the other person senses you open, the dialogue can continue, you can build that level of trust, and then you can find the solutions. But if you decide somebody's wrong and you then spend the rest of the meeting converting them to your point of view and they're trying to convert you to their point of view, that's called a stalemate. And here's my final question before I kick into my presentation. How many of you have ever had to deal with an idiot? Right. So here's my message. Be kind to the idiots in your life, because in somebody else's life, you are the idiot. Okay. So you'll see that my first slide is a very simple slide that says it's day one. Now, this is a phrase that has been coined by Jeff Bezos, who's the founder and chief executive of Amazon, and I'm sure everyone in this room at some point has used Amazon. And he gave out this phrase in response to a question around how far does he believe Amazon has come and how far can it go? And Jeff Bezos said, in terms of how far we can go, it's day one. So what I want to share with everyone in this room, and I'm aware of how much experience there is here in the room, you want to see every single day as the very first day that you're doing your work. So you want to use all your experience that has brought you to this place to be as good as you possibly can, but then you want to see this day as day one. So I might say some things in the next few minutes that you think you've heard before. But if you live your life like it's day one, you listen like you haven't heard it before. You listen through a fresh set of filters, a fresh set of ears. You look at it through a fresh set of eyes, and you hear a lot more, and you see a lot more. You know, there's one phrase that drives me crazy when I hear people use it. They say, I've seen it all before. I've heard it all before. I've been there and done it all before. Now, I don't know if they have, but if you think you have, then you will have, and then nothing new has a chance to get through. So I'm going to ask you to do something with me right now. Just turn to a person on either side of you. Look them in the eyes and just say to them, it's day one. Okay. So, my talk to you today, and all these slides will be made available to you, and I'll leave you with my website address after this. I create new videos every 2 to 3 weeks that you can access and download for free. If you go to YouTube and check out Mike Lipkin, you'll see I've got like about 100 videos on YouTube. I'm like, you know, the YouTube tycoon, man. It's the best thing that ever could have happened to me. I create a video on a Sunday because I'm bored, and, you know, in the next week or 2 weeks, thousands of people see it. I mean, that's called magic. You know, I got a call from a guy who runs a karate dojo in Hawaii, and for some reason, his kids, and he trains kids from the ages of 9 to 16, they love my style, and so they wait for my videos. And he said, I am personally responsible for at least 30 kids reaching their brown belt in karate. I mean, that's a great feeling, right? There I am up in Toronto looking into my iPhone camera, and then there's a kid getting motivated to go for the next level. It's a beautiful thing. So, my talk here today is about star power. Now, I'll explain to you what star means in a moment, but I just want you to look at this graphic that's on the screen. And you'll see it looks a little bit like a gas tank, and you'll see that the needle's on full. Now, how many of you in this room drive a car? Everyone drives a car. This is Texas, right? Have you ever driven your car with the needle on empty? What happens when you drive your car and the needle's on empty? Despite the fact that you're a fire chief and you're a model of responsibility and you would never do anything to put yourself at risk. But I know there's some folks in the room who sometimes have driven their vehicle with the needle on empty. Now, have you noticed when the needle's on empty, your primary concern is how many miles you've got left in your tank? And you're a little anxious that you may not make it. You're a little anxious that you may get stuck. In fact, have you noticed when your needle's on empty, even the engine doesn't seem to be firing on all cylinders? On the other hand, have you noticed that when the needle's on full and the gas tank reads that you've got, 500 miles before the next fill-up, don't you feel fantastic? As you pull out of that gas station, don't you feel like you could literally drive for miles? So my question to all of you as you sit here today is, where is the needle on your personal gas tank? Are you full of mojo or are you redlining? Because here's what I know. Your ability to thrive in the next year will not be a function of your IQ. You've proven you've got everything you need to do everything you need to do. You've got it all here. The real challenge facing all of us in this room is, how do we bring the energy? How do we bring the application? How do we bring the excitement to everything that we do with everyone every day? You and I need to be at our best with everyone every day. You see, I am aware that other than Brandy, there might be one, maybe two other people out of the 600 people in this room who've seen me speak before. Not that many people know how well known I am. Now look, you've never seen me speak before and you may never see me speak again. Therefore, you are going to judge me based on this 1 hour. And I know the influence, seeing as this is the theme of the whole program, I know the influence that you have in your communities. So you are going to say things about my performance today that could influence whether I get to contribute towards the 161 communities that are represented in this room from 8 different states. So I know that my whole career is a function of how well I do right here, right now. And let me ask you a question. Would it make a difference to your performance as leaders if you saw every single day, as your own Super Bowl Sunday, as the day that turns your life around, or as the day that makes the difference? Because that's the way we all want to show up, because every day is our entire life in miniature. And I think if you act like that, and you bring that kind of energy to what you do on any given day, the rest of your future takes care of itself.